I'm Michael Menz with EMSL. Today we're going to be going over how to sample for airborne fibers using either the NIOSH 7400 method or the AHERA TEM method. First thing you need to do is gather your equipment and supplies. If you're going to be sampling for personal exposure samples, you will need a battery operated pump and an appropriate flow measure device. In this case, it's a rotometer from 0 to 4 liters per minute. If you're going to be collecting stationary samples, either for quality assurance monitoring or post-abatement clearance sampling, you will need an electrical pump, such as this rotary vane, a telescoping stand, and Tygon tube, as well as sampling cassettes. Both methods require mixed cellulose ester filters. The NIOSH 7400 method allows the pore size to be anywhere from 0.45 microns up to 1.2 microns. The industry has developed a de facto standard of 0.8 micron filters for PCM analysis. The TEM AHERA method, however, specifically requires a filter with 0.45 microns for TEM analysis. There is no allowable range other than that for the AHERA method. For personal samples, you'd use a battery-operated pump. In this case, we're going to be using a 0.8 micron filter. You remove the plugs from the inlet and the outlet. Save those for later. Attach the cassette to the Tygon tube, and then attach your flow meter to the inlet side. This is now referred to as a sampling train with your sampling media connected. Adjust to the proper flow rate, and in this case the center of the float is at 2.0 liters per minute. Once we have an established flow rate, you remove the inlet cover, because fiber sampling, you want open face to allow for an even distribution of the fibers across the entire filter. For personal exposures, the pump would be attached to the worker's belt and the sampling media attached to the worker's lapel to establish a breathing zone sample. The OSHA method allows a minimum flow rate of 0.5 liters per minute and a maximum flow rate of 2.5 liters per minute for personal exposures. At the end of the sampling period, recheck the flow rate using the cap and your flow meter. Detach the cassette from the pump and the tube. Turn the pump off by holding the power button for 3 seconds. Reinstall the caps or the plugs into the cassette. On your chain of custody, document your start time, your completion time, and your flow rate to calculate the volume. For post-abatement clearance sampling or stationary diagnostic sampling, you'll need an electric pump such as this rotary vane and a sampling stand with your Tygon tube. For minor projects, the AHERA regulation allows PCM analysis by NIOSH 7400 method. So you would calibrate the pump in a similar fashion, removing the plugs from the inlet and the outlet, turning the pump on and attaching it to the tube and the stand. Using the appropriate flow meter, in this case, it goes up to 20 liters a minute. Attach that to the cassette. Adjust the flow rate to the desired flow. In this case, it will be 11 liters per minute to the center of the float. Remove the cover on the inlet, and your cassette should be in a parallel orientation to the floor. At the completion of sampling, recheck the flow rate by reattaching the cap and the rotometer. Remove from the pump. Reinstall the plugs in the inlet and the outlet section of the cassette. Fill out your chain of custody with your start time, stop time, and flow rate for your volume calculation. Similar to the PCM clearance method, the TEM AHERA method is also performed using an electric pump. However, the TEM AHERA method is specific that the filter must be 0.45 microns in diameter and 25 millimeters. The other difference is the maximum flow rate. Unlike NIOSH 7400, which has a maximum of 16 liters a minute, the AHERA regulation specifically mandates the flow rate is not to exceed 10 liters a minute. So similar calibration setup, turn on the pump, attach the cassette, adjust the flow to your proper flow rate. In this case, it is 9 liters per minute to the center of the ball. And again, remove the cap for open face sampling for even fiber distribution. At the end of the sampling period, recheck your cassette flow rate, detach from the pump, reinstall the inlet cover and the plugs, fill out your chain of custody.